Sure. Yeah.
questions are there. I'd also like to use my position as chair maybe to ask a question. With regard to the
Yeah.
relationship between policy
Mm-hmm.
initiatives and businesses, we see that there's a lot of
Yeah.
limits being put to businesses, what they can, what they can't
Yeah.
do. For example, the GDPR has put
Yeah.
several restrictions. Obviously, this is to the benefit of data
Mm-hmm.
privacy, etc., but it also comes with huge costs for
Yeah.
companies. And I can imagine that for some companies, the bigger ones, the incumbents, some of the costs are a lot easier to take on than for
Yeah.
example, a newcomer or an entry company.
Yeah.
Do you see also this with member
Yeah,
companies?
I really have a problem with that way of thinking, because it's a reaction we very often get, because we are these larger companies that we represent. And of course, for a small company, it's just not feasible to do all the work to analyze all these laws. So they have to rely on the judgment they get for their sector federation or for some associations like UNISO and so on. But I see it every 6 weeks when we have this privacy council of us, how so again, these are not tech companies. These are companies making, like UCB, making medicines, or AGFA doing monitors or whatever. And those people, they are so puzzled because the impact is enormous. And so people say, oh, but they are large companies, they have the money to do so. It's just, you want to be compliant because you have otherwise the risk of the fines, but you cannot be compliant because the environment is not really 100% secure. And I'm just going to come back to Microsoft yesterday. So I came from Amsterdam, where we had a meeting with some of our associations discussing an issue we have with Microsoft. So Microsoft, in some of their products, they are not really compliant with the GDPR. It is known, but as a company, when you use the Microsoft products, you are the one that is accountable if there is a problem. So they do a lot of telemetry and follow for profiling reasons, and so things that you are doing with the software, which is not okay for GDPR. It is known, but it's taking time until they say, okay, we are now going to change our contracts and our terms and conditions for everybody. And you can say, okay, but those large companies can negotiate. They cannot negotiate with Microsoft. We need to do it together. That's why we exist also, but it's not that easy.
This being said, from your expertise, do you think that we are striking the right balance, for example, with the GDPR in terms of costs being put on companies vis-a-vis the benefits that we derive, or are we being too strict, or from a policy perspective, or too lenient?
I must say that I'm proud of Europe that we have it, that we say, okay, we make a statement, privacy is important, because I feel it is important as a citizen. The way it is implemented is a little bit difficult, as I said, because it was really made with having the tech giants in mind, and now we have it. But I think there are now this European Data Protection Board, and they are listening now, and I hope that we can convince them to come back to more reasonable implementations. But it will take some time.
Students, any ideas you want to share, questions?
I'm not sure my question really well prepared, but I'm thinking about the legal field of the digital world right now.
Mm-hmm.
How is it growing? And it's building on real life situations and precedents. For example, seeing how Microsoft is acting, and they're becoming like big banks, too big to fail. Are they being independent in formulating new laws for digital liberty?
I think so. I think that's not a problem, but it's just that the evolution, so the digital became so important, and we did not see it coming. The problem with legislation is always you see a problem and then you want to make a legislation, or you see something new. As we see now with AI, the number of discussion documents that I receive right now on ethics on AI and what policy needs to do, it is so difficult to foresee the future, and technology is evolving much faster than the legislation does, so we always will have this conflict. But it has nothing to do that Microsoft is going to those people of the members of parliament. They do, but I mean, we do that too. That's okay. It's just that we just didn't see coming all the consequences of, we had competition. Well, I'm quite old right now, so I had this the competition in telecommunications. I saw it coming. That was nice because then you see it really works. And what we see now, there was a lot of competition in software. What we see is if we have nice startups here, then they are bought by large companies, or they go to the US because there they have much more venture capital. So for the innovation part of our technology and our economy, Europe is really not in a very good shape, I think. We rely too much on other parts of the world. Yeah.
But I would like to know, like, are there like now people specializing in digital law more and more?
Oh, yeah.
And how old can I
Yeah.
say this discipline is, for example?
Oh, this I think it exists for 30 or 40 years, but we see now a lot of lawyers, also the large law firms, but also smaller ones, are really specializing not only on digital, on a part of digital. Whether it's about software licensing, we work together with Stibbe. Whether it's about privacy, we work, for example, with Alan Novery. We have a lot of contact with also maybe one or two persons law firms that are specialized in intellectual property rights, or it goes all directions, but it's of course a domain that is growing very, very fast.
I think that's also interesting because we see many disciplines being connected.
Yeah.
Also in research and practice, we see that it comes together.
Yeah.
Lawyers, but also economists, consultants, researchers,
Yeah.
working together with the communication specialists, and it's also nice to see
Mhm.
disciplines being connected.
Yeah, which is an extra challenge for the regulators, because we used to have telecommunications, that was BIPT in Belgium, or BEREC at the European level, electronic communication networks. You see the banks, that's the national bank, or you have, for every sector you have a regulator. But now they need to cooperate, and that is extremely difficult. I had a discussion with the people from the BIPT, so Belgium Institute of Post and Telecommunications, and they know, because with the self-driving cars or the IoT or the medicines or whatever, they say we need to go to a different environment, but how? How are we going to do this? And this needs to be done on the national level, but also on the international level. And in a lot of, there are a lot of crossroads.
Other questions, experiences, fears?
My question is about artificial intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and through that domain, machines, robots are produced.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, do you think that it's a domain that contains the diversity that represent the users?
No.
And yeah, because I'm thinking, for example, about the example of that soap dispenser that do not recognize the black skin.
Yeah.
Black user want to wash
Yeah.
their hands because it's only made by
Yeah.
white men.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
No, it's true. There are a lot of examples.
For that, and
Yeah.
also the lack
Yeah.
of representation of
Yeah.
women in the domain of
Yeah.
digital, because this will have an impact on everything actually.
Yeah, but you're right on the two parts. So for the applications, I only mentioned a few, but most of the biases is always to other races, where people with yellow skins or black skins are not detected the way, because they are made. A lot of applications are made by just white male men. So that's a big issue. And women in IT, just this morning when we were in this meeting in Amsterdam discussing with my colleague from Turkey, of all countries, they are very, very active on women in IT. They have a lot of initiatives, which I would not expect, but it was very, very nice to talk to him. But I must say, I was in this meeting room, so we had 20 people in the meeting room, in our meeting room, but then we went to a conference all together with 600 people or so, all CIOs, so IT manager of large companies. I don't know how many women there were, but really not many. And yesterday I was really shocked, because yesterday evening there was a kind of ceremony on the CIO of the year, so the IT manager in the Netherlands of the year. And the nominees, they were 6 nominees, all men. And I said, this is not possible. Okay, there are less women active in IT than men, but if you don't, 6 out of them. And then they gave me the whole gallery of the 15 years of the awards. And once it was won by a woman, and then they say there was a lot of critique about it, because they found that it was not serious that she won because she was a lady. That's the Netherlands. That's.
Since you are one of the only women in this sector,
No, it's not of the only ones. It's, there's there are more, but yeah.
at the beginning, did you have a role model someone who helped you to reach the position you now have?
Not really. But I must say, I've never found difficulties. I cannot say that I was discriminated or I was treated differently. I was the only example that I have, but that had nothing to do with IT. That was my second job was at the Belgian Bankers Association. I was 24 or something like that at that time. And so I came to the first meeting. And so my boss said, you are going to lead that meeting with all these very serious men in their 50s because they were representing their bank. And so, okay, so I was already very early at the meeting, so I cannot come too late. And then the first man who came in, he gave me a paper because everything was done on paper at that time. And he gave me a paper. He said, "Oh, lady, can you make some copies for me?" I said, "Okay." But then I started the meeting, of course, afterwards, where he was then more ashamed than I was. But that's the only example I really saw in my whole. I think sometimes it's even appreciated. So, but a role model, no.
Basically, it's about, recently I've seen in the news that in Lyon, France, they were trying, experimenting with facial recognition and cameras. So what do you say about that in relation to this,
Yeah.
this thing with the social credit that's happening in China?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a possibility to happen in Europe at some point?
It's a possibility, but everything depends on how we deal with our privacy. It's if I see so we had in this privacy council we have some people from Brussels Airport, and they were thinking about using biometric information to the access, not for us, not for the people traveling, but just for the people who are dealing with the luggage and so on. And they really took it very, very seriously to see what they had to respect, what kind of applications they could have, and especially also which kind of information they had to give to those people, so that they have an alternative, that if they say, I don't want to, that they have an alternative with a badge or something. So people are very conscious about it. Some people come and tell me, well, if you go to China and everything is done, well, we don't have privacy, we don't need privacy. There I don't agree, because I feel privacy is very, very important. But it's the way you look at it. But cameras are everywhere. They are not only in China, they are here as well. So.
And that's what I said. They were experimenting with it
Yeah.
in France.
But but in Mechelen, in a lot of cities, yeah. Well, when we had this people that did the attack at the airport in 2016, afterwards one with the little hat, the white hat, he was, well, one of the terrorists was looked for, that they could follow his path, and that's 2 years ago. And in the meantime, there are much more cameras than we have. I have a lot of fines in Mechelen right now because they recognize my license plate everywhere, and they changed all the directions of the streets. So sometimes I'm in streets where I should not be, and they know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we have a final question round. I have one follow-up question here, and then Florian for a small one.
Oh, I didn't saw you. Okay.
And I think we can slowly wrap up.
I just wanted to follow up with the same question. We know that the cameras are everywhere, but I wanted to know whether how possible it is to apply the social credit punishment in Europe.
In Europe,
Whether we will see this in the near future.
the way we deal with privacy, I don't think it's possible to have it in Europe. Not with our regulations.
Well, for
Yeah,
insurance
yeah,
fees,
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
is in the European Union.
For the facial recognition, the biometrics?
No,
Yeah.
social credit.
Okay, yeah, but is that social credit. If I think about the social credit in China, I think more about, okay, you cross the street when it's a red light, or that everything is combined. Like if I think about insurance companies, and you have insurance companies that are now going to look into the details of their customer base to see, maybe there are also already insurance companies that offer lower prices for women because they see women have less accidents. Is that discrimination? I don't know, but it's a kind of profiling. And profiling will be done much more than it is now, because with AI there will be much more possible than now, because people just want to know more. I had a conversation there in Holland with a lady. She was an American, or she still is an American lady, and she went to Walmart, and she showed me a picture at her smartphone, and that was a fridge, but it was incredible, perfect. Like every bottle of Coca-Cola, and I don't know what was in there, all the colors, and all it was too perfect to be true. And she said, this is not a real one, it's an electronic picture. And she said, when I went to Walmart, and it seems that they already have it in 150 of their supermarkets, there's a camera at a so-called fridge. And when he recognized you, I do not know how, she did not know either how it works, but then suddenly it changed to her favorite drinks based on the customer cards. Yeah. That was nice, because all of my favorite drinks were there, but yeah, I find it a little bit scary. That's profiling either, so.
This profiling once came to the news you receive during an election campaign can also have
Yeah.
consequences. Do you have a specific, what do you think about this?
Well, I must say, so in this, I talked now about Microsoft, but we have also an issue with Facebook. So also with Facebook, we have a lot of questions on privacy, because they put information on websites of companies where companies are not always aware what Facebook is doing with the data that are being gathered by your website. So just today, my colleague had a meeting with the European responsible people from Facebook, asking them that they want to come to a meeting of ours so that we can have our questions. But it's not a healthy situation right now. Because on one hand, you have this privacy, which is important. You have a lot of comments on what can happen, like what happened with the elections is very, very serious. The meeting today with Facebook was about content. What will they do? What can they do? What are they allowed to do? But where are the borders? Where can you ask a commercial company to say everything what is about politics needs to be away from your networks? These are really very dangerous subjects that are popping up right now. So we have a lot of challenges there. Not only on the political level, but also on every company, and even on citizens. What do you want to publish? What you still want to share? If you know that the combinations of the informations can bring so much information to maybe people you don't want them. Yeah, it's a bit difficult, but okay.
But thanks for the very fascinating talk. I have a different kind of question. Sometimes when people talk about 5G, they say that there's a real health issue being involved with all it.
Yeah.
Can you give an informed concept? Because sometimes you hear this is completely exaggerated, sometimes you hear that this is really a bit under the radar because there's so many economic interests there.
Yeah.
What's happening there with 5G?
Well, I can tell you that the question is popping up. So what we are doing is every couple of months we invite a professor to give an explanation how it works, what the difference is with the 5G networks and the 4G networks. I must say, until now, the speeches I've heard were quite reassuring, because the network is built differently. There are more antennas, but they have much lower power, so the difference will not be that big. But until now, so we have now mobile networks for 25 years, I think. I think studies are still going on. Nobody knows what will happen in the future. I must say that what they all say, but of course you don't call anymore. That was a big issue. Don't call with the phone next to your head. Use ears, or don't call. Just to use WhatsApp or chat. What you're probably all doing, because the phone is much more dangerous than the antenna. Well, of course you should not go and stand for an antenna. Sometimes I must say we have luckily a very severe law here in Belgium, because when I go on holiday sometimes, I remember when I was in Corsica where you have a lot of low buildings, and they were just in front of antennas, and that is really dangerous. It's really very dangerous. But I must say we follow it up. So every couple of months we will put it again on the agenda. And I must say on the 11th of December, there's a hearing in the federal parliament for the people for the members of parliament to hear about the differences. Because people are scared, and that's normal. You know, they should be. So.